There is so many tabletop games out there, and to find out what the best games are, you have to start somewhere. So I decided to start with 2023 and find out what the best games were made in 2023.
What can I play?
This video is going to be very different to my previous ones. We're going to sit back, relax, and take a look at the best games to play that came out in 2023. But since I'm not a board game aficionado myself, and I'm just trying to find the best games to play no matter the situation, this situation is, what are the best games that came out in 2023? So, in order to answer what the best games are in 2023, I looked at YouTube and looked at all the YouTubers and their best games that they recommend in their top 10 list that every board gamer YouTube likes to make. So in a way, this is kind of mine, although I'm not at that stage in my board game career yet to be able to recommend any recent games. So I just wanted to compile them all and see what the creme de la creme of board games are amongst all the YouTubers. The way this video is going to work is I ended up watching a ton of YouTubers and their top 10 list of board games for 2023, and I looked at all their ratings for each one of these games and I tallied them all up. I put them all together and found out which games are overall coming up the most amongst all these YouTubers and what score are they giving them. So I gave the scoring, but if they rated it as their number one game, it got 10 points out of 10. If they rated it as the 10th game, it got 1 point. And then I gave an extra point for every mention because some games got mentioned a lot but weren't so high. If you want to see the full data of what I did, I'll be putting it on the website, and all the links to all the YouTubers that you'll be seeing in this video are in the description below. So definitely go check out their full 10 lists, as I definitely couldn't have made this video without them, and I appreciate them for being part of the community that I want to be a part of. So quickly, I just want to shout out all the YouTubers that I reference in this video, just so I give them the full credit that they deserve. So I'm just going to list them off. We've got Foster the Meeple, The Brothers Murph, Man vs Meeple, Board Game Hangover, Board Game Ramblings, Tantrum House, Adam in Wales, Drive Through Games, and Just a Geeky Dad. I'm now going to cut to the YouTuber that gave the game the highest rating amongst all the other YouTubers to explain what the game's about and why they gave it that rating. Alright, in number 10th spot, with 2 mentions overall amongst all the YouTubers, we have Sagrada Artisan. Its highest rating was 1 and its lowest rating was also 1. And the YouTuber that will be explaining why they rated it so highly is Tantrum House Will and Jonah.
Sagrada Artisans. Ooh. Look at that shiny action on the camera.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Man, what an experience. I believe, I'm just going to ruin it, I believe this is yours as well.
It is. It's my number 1 game of the year. It is.
So
it deserves the spot.
We did get to play it together. We played through all the scenarios in the game. I think did you go back for seconds?
I did. I've played it through all the way twice.
Man.
Yeah.
The Sagrada game, basic, is a fine game. Really good. Place the dice in your window, lots of fun. This game adds so many levels. It's really, I'll say it, I haven't actually played Ticket to Ride Legacy yet, so apparently that's on my list next. This is the best Legacy game that I've played. It is challenging each round. A lot of Legacy games have like a throwaway level at the beginning that if you've played the game before, you don't even need to play it, except for this one is a fine game to start off with. And then halfway through, you get to one that's just a filler that was like a waste of your time and energy. I didn't feel like that in any case in this game. Every round was a new challenge. It was exciting and fun. You're using colored pencils in this one instead of just the dice.
Like it.
And so there's like activity going on the entire time. It's just, the experience is fun. The gameplay is super challenging. My mind was kind of blown by a couple of the puzzles where I was like, I didn't think this was possible. And it's great.
Yeah. So one of the things that I like most, I'm going to echo what Will said. After playing Sagrada Artisans and playing Ticket to Ride Legacy, I thought to myself, Legacy games, campaign games, they've stepped up. Mm-hmm. These are some of the best games I have played, and it actually sent me on a quest all year to play more Legacy games. So I kid you not, I've played like 3 or 4 since playing this one originally first. I played this one twice. Yes, because I'm like, have they always been this fun? This is nuts. Good.
Legacy?
So I haven't gone to Pandemic yet.
Oh, that's gonna blow both of these out of the water. I'm telling you right now.
I don't see.
I'm telling you right now.
I don't think so.
No, we played that together.
I put this as my number 1 on purpose. Like this is the
I like
best
Legacy.
I could see this being better.
Oh,
I haven't
this
even
is
played
the-
this, and I think it might be better.
This is the best. And again, Ticket to Ride was our number 2 game.
Yep.
These are the best. I'm talking about spend your money, folks.
Okay.
You have to play these games. I'm serious.
It is fun. You
Yeah.
want to go back. My brain was doing the gymnastics after each play. Like, oh, could I have done that better? I don't have time. I got to go on to the next one. Like,
Yeah.
I'm ready to play it that second time as well.
Number 9, with 3 mentions, is Nuculum. With a highest rating of 1 and a lowest rating of 8, we have Man vs. Meeple Ryan to explain why.
My number 1 game of the year is Nucleum. This is a game that I would actually legitimately call a masterpiece. This game works on every possible level. I've played it solo. I've played it 2 players going back and forth. I've played it 3 and 4. I've played every player count possible. And I played multiple games with some of those player counts. Every single time I've played this game, it has worked for me on the deepest level. Like, everything about this game comes together. There's so much I could talk about this game. I won't, because I could talk for an hour about it.
But he won't.
But that whole action selection system of, like, do I tuck the action on my player board to take the action and thus get more income, or do I put the action out on the board and flip it over as a route to connect these cities? Because you have to connect cities, you have to get income, you have to fulfill your objectives, you have to build out your invention, your machine, which Emily touched on, the fact that there's like variable player powers, but it's more than that. You have like 8 tiles that you have to earn as you're playing the game, and every time you earn one of these tiles, you get to like activate a part of your machine that's going to give you an ongoing effect, an instant effect, in-game scoring. There's a ton of different stuff that's happening over there, but the real star of the show for me is the in-game scoring mechanic. And this is where you're everything you're doing in the game is collecting you these like power points or achievement points, these little like star things. And every time you rest, you turn them all in. And based on how many you turn in, you get to claim that spot on the in-game scoring track. However, they're divided into sections, and you can only be in each section once.
Yep.
So if you rest the first time with 10 stars, and you only have 12 the next time, you have to drop down to the one below that because you can't put another one. So you have to keep constantly pushing yourself. So you can't just like do everything all at once. You kind of want to stretch things out and space things out. So like after you rest, you have more ways because you're building buildings effectively and powering them. And again, even that feels very satisfying. But another thing too that Emily touched on is during setup, based on the player count, you're restricting some things, you're blocking off some spots, you're putting different mines, active nuclear plants in different spots. So the game board is going to be very different. And even from the very first move that somebody takes, the game board is going to expand in different ways.
Yes, exactly.
And you are encouraged to work together. If somebody starts building a route, it's maybe beneficial for everybody for that route to be made. Plus, you get points for being in it. Plus, if you manage to get in on that route, it makes those 2 cities part of your network.
Yes.
So there's a lot of motivation to like wait and see. As soon as somebody starts a route, you want to get in there and finish it, or like you start a route and you're like, guys, come on, help! Like I don't want to have to do it both myself because that uses up 2 tiles. So it feels so good, and you feel really like it's a very challenging game, but it makes you feel really smart.
Number 8, with 3 mentions as well, we have the game Expeditions. With a highest rating of 2 and a lowest rating of 6, we have Tantrum House Ryan to explain why.
For my number 2, the question was raised earlier, is Expeditions better than Scythe? And I think it is. So this is my number 2. When the original artwork came out, before Scythe was even like a game, I was a fan of the art. And then Scythe was announced, and then I played it, and I was like, oh, this has been overhyped. But then I played this, and I was like, why have I not heard about this? This has been underhyped. I think everybody should check it out. It is a fun game. Expeditions, my number.
My number 5 was actually a surprise for me. I did not know that this game was coming out. A game in the world of Scythe. Expeditions, 1920 plus Expeditions from Stonemaier, designed by Jamie Stegmaier. I had no clue that Scythe was going to get other board games.
Yeah.
So I was just like, what? I love Scythe, so I was really interested in this one. I really, really like this because of the card-driven nature of the game. You're trying to get those cards that's really going to work out for your game. You have the mechs that are moving around the board to get the cards that you need. Really, really like how the cards work in Expeditions. It's all about it. And of course, it's based on the Scythe universe, so it hits on the theme too.
In number 7, with also 3 mentions, we have Void 4. With its highest placement as 2 and its lowest placement as 7, we have Board Game Rambling Sunniva to explain why.
My number 2 is Voidfall, and I just really, really love it. Yeah, it's a crossover. Yes.
Crossover dance.
I
It's
forgot.
a crossover
I'm so excited
dance.
talking about
Excited
Voidfall.
about Voidfall.
Yeah, it is that the main problem is that we're never gonna play it because it's a beast of a game.
But that's also because we like we always
but
moving
I
forward.
think that is a huge negative with this game
Yeah.
for a lot of people.
yeah,
that
absolutely.
it's hard to get at a table because of the size you need of
Yes.
the table to actually
Yes.
play it and the time it takes to set up and learn to new players.
Mm-hmm.
But when you do all that stuff, man, is it rewarding!
Mm-hmm.
And the art by Iona Tool is amazing as always. And I love that when you do cool, powerful stuff,
Mm-hmm.
you will get some corruption, and you're trying to remove that corruption so that you can get points at the end of the game. And I like that you have different like play styles. You get like a house, unless you're doing the basic things, but you're choosing like, I want to have this faction and I want this faction now to focus on this, and that decides what tech cards are available. You also have these what you call it, setups of the map, which makes it different from time to time.
Yeah.
And I love that, yes, you have this little warfare thing going on, but it's mainly like this managing a threat, potential threat. It's like a little Cold War
Yeah.
feeling, and you're trying, it feels like an economic game.
Oh yeah.
But it is in space
With some pew pew pew.
with some pew pew pew, which I really enjoy.
Okay.
In number 6, with also 3 mentions, we have 3 Ring Circus. With its highest rating of 1 and its lowest rating of 4, we have Foster the Meeple's Jeff to explain why.
My number 1 has already been mentioned on this list by Jamie. This is the Devere game, and it is 3 Ring Circus.
You're kidding! I'm gonna play that again too.
I absolutely adored this game. I am a big fan of area control, and games that can do 2-player area control well are very rare, and this one does it really well. I also very much enjoy the theme. I know that it's a struggle for some people because Barnum was kind of a POS,
cool head.
which is what it is. I very much enjoyed the area control plus tableau builder. Devere has such a unique way of just combining these things together and making them work.
Yeah.
And I've always appreciated that of what they've been doing in small boxes. I very much like that Barnum acts as a round counter, so you have so many rounds. We've talked about how much we very much enjoy games that have a set number of rounds. It's not open-ended. This one felt tight. The area control felt good, and the tableau builder was great. And I'm a sucker for a good circus theme. I really am, and 3 Ring Circus, I feel like got kind of superseded by White Castle when the White Castle came out.
Anybody talking about
3
it.
Ring Circus doesn't really get talked about so much, but it's a good problem to have. I mean, Devere's putting out so many great games that every time they put out a new game, it's just all everyone talks about. But I do think 3 Ring Circus is my favorite of their current
And mine
lineup.
too.
That's true. Yeah, it is. Yep.
And I love the artwork. I just
Yeah.
love everything about it. I love Devere.
Yeah.
They can do no wrong, in my opinion.
In number 5, with 5 mentions, we have Earth. With its highest rating of 5 and its lowest rating of 7, we have Just a Geeky Dad to explain why.
Coming in at number 5, I have a game that everybody has talked about, so I got a chance to play this one a few times, and I'm talking about Earth. Earth is a tableau builder for 1 to 5 players with simple rules but tons of strategic gameplay when it comes to creating engines of cards. You are building different kinds of plants and trees on a 4x4 grid of cards, and you will need to use soil to help plant those different plants. Once a player has completed their 4x4 grid of cards, the game will end and all players will add up their victory points. It's actually quite simple of gameplay. You're more just thinking about what cards you want to add to your grid to get a good engine flowing, to get a bunch of resources that you will then use to get better cards, to help give you more points. There's also a 3D element to the game where you're building these different stacks of, I call them trees, but they're not necessarily called trees. I can't remember what they're called, but it kind of adds to the enjoyment of the game, seeing a tableau build, seeing these different trees get built on those cards. Definitely had a lot of fun playing this one. I heard this one is actually coming back to Kickstarter with a new expansion coming in 2024, so make sure to check that out when it does come, because it is actually a pretty simple, fun card game. Now,
In number 4, with 4 mentions, we have The Witcher Old World. With its highest rating of 3 and its lowest rating of 5, we have Man vs. Meeple's David and Just a Geeky Dad, as they both gave it their third spot, to explain why.
Multiple times, so I won't take too much time on it, but it is The Witcher Old World. This is easily...
It's number 3.
It
Wow,
is
I
number
thought it was
3.
gonna be
You were
number
hot.
one.
You were so hot on this
I
game.
really thought it was going to be
Well,
number
David was
1.
hot on this game in a way that I haven't seen on a lot of games.
He
so this
would
does make
not
sense.
stop talking
I was
about
like,
this.
David, with all these
He's
miniatures
just
around
like-
him, I was like, well, geez,
I
look at
know.
him. This game is really great. Like I said earlier, the fact that it takes what is a very fun narrative experience, and you have to allow yourself. If you're not someone who's going to enjoy that, I get it, but and not just because Brian was reading them, but every time we've read them, getting into those stories, and just like The Witcher, the video game, you don't ever know what the right decision is on a lot of those stories. It can make sound like, oh, I'll be the good guy, I'll do that. And nope, that bit you bad. Which is fun, and it's if you've ever played any of the games or understand the IP, it feels very much like that, and you combine that all with the fact that it is a really interesting deck building game as it relates to using your cards not only for the combat, but also using those cards to move around the map and explore is really cool. That game came together in such a really fantastic way, and Brian touched on this. There's the sheer amount of content in that game is mind-boggling. I haven't come close to touching all the elements that Ryan has in that game, but yeah, the co-op, all those things are still there waiting to be played. And the minis.
I'm moving on to a game that I talked about plenty on the channel, and that is Witcher Old World. If you're new to this channel, I've actually covered this game a bunch. I've done a bunch of gameplay videos, how to play videos. If you haven't seen those, I'll have that link down below so you guys can check those videos out. It's a super fun game where you are playing as different witches going out to defeat monsters, and you're trying to gain 4 trophies in order to win. There's a few different ways to gain trophies, but the main way is to defeat those monsters. It's also a deck building game, and the deck that you have is your health points when you go to fight monsters. Now, I honestly really enjoy playing The Witcher Old World, probably the best solo. I don't mind 2 or 3 players, but any more than that, the game definitely drags on. But I've had tons of fun playing it. Probably one of the games that I've spent the most amount of time playing this year. So that is The Witcher Old World, sitting at number 3.
In the number 3 spot, with 3 mentions, we have the game Evacuation. With its highest rating of 1 and its lowest rating of 2, we have Board Games Ramblings Joannas to explain why. Sorry if I butchered your name.
Without further ado, the number 1 game of 2023 is...
Evacuation.
From Vladimir Suhi and Delicious Games. It's just a superb game. It just makes my brain work in so many ways that I just love it to bits.
Yes, I think we've spoken about this in the review as well, but I really love how they've taken, or he has taken a very original spin on very classic Euro stuff. You're choosing an action, but having to manage these different resources on 2 different planets and deciding what to evacuate from the old to the new. First, what to prioritize, when to do it. The timing is super critical in this game, and all the different modes you can play makes this game very fresh and unique.
Yeah, I love it to bits. I think, as I said, this just makes my brain sing. It is so hard. It's so easy to be like, now I'm so far on the progress track, but I haven't gotten enough energy over to the new planet. I cannot use any of the energy on the old planet. That is going to be a problem because you need energy to do every single action you are doing. And there's just so many little things to think about in a way that just makes me happy. And as you said, different modes, sometimes we see basic mode and we just skip it. But I'm happy that we usually play the basic mode because we're going to review the games. And this basic mode is great. You can play it many times. And then when you add the action cards, they are really great. Some of them feel super powerful, but then you're going to move very slow on the progress track, and that can be a problem because you need movement on that to be able to progress better in the game, because some things are locked to you in the beginning that's going to go opening to you. So if all the players play those big ones, it's going to be good. But if one player is playing smaller ones, doing maybe a tiny fewer actions and smaller actions, then they might end up being a very way ahead on where they can place on the new planet and just have monopoly on these spaces, and those spaces are way better, so you're going to get ahead in that way. And just so many things to do, so many fantastic ways to play. Really, really love it.
And in the number 2 spot, with 6 mentions and its highest rating of 1 and its lowest rating of 9, we have The White Castle. And we have the brother Murph to explain why.
Combos, wombos.
Combos, wombos.
Combo wombos is what we're here for.
Indeed.
The White Castle is a game that's specifically built around doing combo wombos. In fact, it's so built around it, it only gives you 9 turns in the game.
Yeah.
You only get 9 turns.
Because you need to do combo wombos.
Or else you're going to do poorly. Your game's going to be very quick. So this game is predicated on getting resources and then going to action spaces to then hopefully trigger additional actions that you can take. And it's all around Himeji Castle in Arkansas. So
surprisingly, yeah.
In Japan. So you are dice placing. There are 3 colors of dice that are on the board, and you're going to draft 1 die per turn, place it out onto the board somewhere or onto your player board as well. Make use of that action, which might gain you resources or do different things, and then oftentimes, depending on the action selection you do, it might give you a certain action to take, which are going to kind of be the 3 main areas, I'll say, on your player board, which would be placing out your courtiers into the castle areas, your gardeners into these kind of gardens on the side of the board, or your warriors into the fields to train. And all 3 of those actions will land you, basically, your workers on spots that will generally trigger additional actions of gaining resources or possibly doing another full action, like putting a gardener out, which then allows you to place a warrior out, which then gives you some, mother of pearl, which will help you with the courtier on your next turn. So it's all about finding, like, I need to go here, so it gives me, I'm going to A, so it gives me B and C, which I'm going to use to pay for D, which is going to give me E and F. And you're trying to do that where you only took 2 turns, but you did all those turns worth of stuff. It's so fun to try to piece that together, to think of, okay, how can I get a lot of stuff out of this one dice placement?
It feels so bad when you're like, I'm going to go here and get 2 iron.
Your turn.
That was a 9th of my game.
And that for some people, I have heard, for some people, is a turn off.
Yes, I can see that.
It's maybe too tight in that way, but it's so satisfying when you get to put together that combo. And maybe it's okay you have that turn because you're building up for that super turn later. So it can be worth it to take that small turn if it's worth it. You know, if it's building towards something larger. But this one, one of my favorite things in games are when you play a game, and this one's relatively quick, at least a 2-player, it's like 40 minutes.
Snappy.
So nice. But it's so nice when you finish the game and I did this. Let's do that right now again. I want to do that right now again. That does not happen very often. Even with games that we quite like and stuff, where it's short enough, it's easy enough to set up. The box size, the game boards and stuff are small enough, thank God, that you are... It's easy enough to table that I'm like, I want to do this right now, shuffle up and deal. Let's go. And it's just such a good feeling. It's just, for us at least, leaves us very satisfied because, again, similar to like we were talking about in Darwin's Journey, you probably will have at least one turn where you really you're like, I did it right there. I got everything out of that turn that I possibly could. That was so nice. And it just feels good to do that. There's different cards you can kind of collect, and you get this kind of lantern row, and every time you take a lower value die or do anything to trigger your lantern, you get all this stuff. There's just a lot of things that you can do that give you that satisfying feeling when taking turns of accomplishment. Even again, if you don't win, you're like, man, I did some stuff. I got to feel clever, which for us is a massive thing. I want to be able to feel clever. I want to be able to feel like I put together a good idea and executed something. And this game gives, at least for us, that in a big bad way. It's so good.
It's very good. It's very good. It's just, like you said, the 2 games were after we played it, we immediately were like, do we have time to play it again? Was Oranienburg Canal and the White Castle.
So there you go.
Because this game, when we first played, we immediately went cool, that was the game of the year. And we were like, something might overtake it, and Oranienburg got close. But we were just immediately we're like, cool, that was the game of the year. That was it. We've played it. This is our favorite game of the year.
Good to know that. And it held up. It held up to that
really
standard
for
the rest of the year, which is
It's so good.
And last but not least, the best game of 2023, according to all the YouTubers, with 7 mentions and its highest rating of only 2, never being anyone's number 1 pick, and its lowest rating of 10, we have Apiary. And we have Man vs. Meeple's David to explain why.
Apiary, which is my number 2.
Yeah, surprise.
This game, we've said it all. In fact, this is the one game that we've all talked about so far.
Oh, wow, that's true.
This game is just fun. First time we played it, I said this several times before. I paused several times and went, "Wow, this is really good. This is doing something special." And Emily touched on this earlier. I want to underscore. I feel that I can't believe that Connie Vogelman didn't take everything in a game that could feel a little bad and design it such that it didn't.
Right.
So everything that you might come across while playing any board game where you're like, oh, that kind of sucks. There's some silver lining here that's so silver that it actually feels maybe even better than the bad part of it.
I don't think I've had any like real feel bad moments in that game.
No,
ever.
there are no feel bad moments because I think it's been designed such that even the feel bad moments feel good. We've said this a lot of times, and we've kind of touched on it here today. This game takes I'm going to go here, and then it makes you go, come at me. Like, let's see. I'm going here. I want you to come here so that I get my 4B.
Yes.
Because one of the things that I realized in my first play is I'd expected, this is a game where you usually place your workers out and then you're going to recall at one point. And you do want to do that, but I wasn't recalling, and I was realizing how much fun I was having breaking that system.
Yes.
Where it was like, oh, I keep getting bounced back, and my first round effectively is going on forever, and I don't have to recall.
But sometimes you want to some strategies you want to recall.
Some of the exact opposite. Yeah, you want to recall more and more often.
100%.
It's just interesting how that plays out.
It is a really, really fun game, and honestly, it is very deserving of being on a lot of top 10 lists here at the end of the year, which is why I think you're going to see it there.
Well, that's the top 10 list according to YouTubers. I'd love to know what your top 10 lists are in the comments below if you have any games that you played with in 2023. I certainly haven't played any of these, but of them all, the White Castle definitely sounds the most interesting to me, who's probably a bit more of a novice, as it seems quite short and a bit more appealing in terms of its setting to something that I would gravitate towards. So I'm keen to probably try that one out as a board gaming convention in the months to come. If you really like this video, please go check out all these YouTubers that I mentioned in this video, as they are titans in the board game space. And if somehow you've came across my video before you've come across any of them, go give them a subscribe, because they deserve it way more than I ever do, because this is only my 4th video and hopefully more to come. If you want to continue discovering games in a data-driven way with me, please consider subscribing, as I intend to inject data into my journey of finding the best games to play no matter the situation. And that's it. As always, keep on playing. See you.